Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I have got a fantastic new project for you today that I'm very excited about. It is just a fun, delightful bracelet with all the colors of the rainbow made into a gorgeous um, capture chain bracelet. Let me show you what I'm talking about because seeing is believing. We'll be using 7 capture chain colors in this project, which is just, again, very delightful. A happy way to celebrate Pride Month if you want to, and the colors are quite interchangeable as well. And so if you wanted to mix it up and use a whole different design and color, then you can make a sunset. You can do a mountain theme. I mean, the possibilities are just truly endless. So I'm going to just go ahead and flip around my camera to the work table, and we're just going to get right into it. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the tools. You will need some chain nose pliers, which look like this. I prefer to use the Weber's brand. They're very high quality. They've lasted through many, many years and are just fabulous. So I highly recommend that brand. You'll also need a pair of cutters. The brand that I'm using for that is Lindstrom. And again, high quality pliers. They're quite economically priced, I think, and they just last forever. And so you can see with the wear and tear on the handles, I've had these for a little while, and they've cut through some pretty brutal things. And so they just continue to stay sharp, though. I love them. Another tool that we might talk about later is a beading awl. So just have that handy, and you'll see why later. As far as our materials goes, we will need a bunch of different colors of capture chain. So here I've got silver. And by the way, let me just give you a quick rundown on what capture chain is. It's a knitted wire jewelry chain in its essential definition. And it has a ball chain core, as you can see from a close up there. And it's little beads that create a chain. And then I've knitted over that wire that's as thin as human hair. And this cage, if you will, this sort of sock is drawn down over the ball chain. And it makes a very intricate, very free flowing, beautiful, just luxurious chain. And they're so much fun to use. Capture chain is one of those, to me, it's a very versatile chain. You can sew through it, you can wire wrap it, you can do all kinds of things. You can even just drape it by itself, which is sort of the case for this project because we're not really embellishing it. We're just using all those beautiful colors together. So I have a 7-inch length, which is for this particular project, depending on the clasp that you're using, it's a little bit on the long side. You can, of course, trim this down to whatever your preference of your wrist size is. Also keeping in mind, though, that the clasp, depending on what you have and what we're using today, will add on an extra inch to your bracelet. So if you're looking for a full 7-inch bracelet, you'll probably want to only use 6 inches of the capture chain. And it's sold as a 3-foot spool, and so you can make a ton of bracelets with with just the one spool. So, getting back to the colors, we got the silver, we've got lotus, which is this beautiful supple pink color. It's just absolutely stunning, so vivid. There is the copper color, shimmering copper, which also has that silver ball chain running through it. We've got golden, which looks like this. So this one is actually, this one's a solid gold. The gold one would have a silver color chain on it, but I think I just had this at my table. So that's what we're going to use. We have the seafoam color, which is this here. So pretty. It's almost on the blue side of the teal color. And then we've got River, which looks like this. This is a dark blue knitted wire over a silver ball chain. And then we've got Purple, which is a purple knitted wire over a silver ball chain core. Its diameter, by the way, is about 3 millimeters, and so it's a pretty decent sized chain. Great if you're just going to use it by itself to drape pendant on, Or if you're lining them up like I am, then that just makes for an awesome cuff. All right, so the last couple things that we'll need are a pair of slide crimps, which look like this. Now, I will say that my crimps and my findings and the plating is just, it's unmatched in the industry. I think it is 5 layers of metal plating over a brass core. And so what you'll see is also the SilverSilk stamp on my findings, which indicate that that is, it's been through the plating process and it is part of the brand. So um, aside from just the impressive metal plating, the findings themselves are quite robust. They're very strong. They'll last over time. They're tarnish resistant. It comes in 6 different polishes, and the one that we're using today is silver. But you can choose gold if you want to go with that colorway, antique copper, dark rhodium. I mean, there's just so many possibilities out there with the different color combinations, and so it was nice to have that offering within the store. Um, and yeah, the 20-inch slider is 20-inch. The 20 millimeter slider, you can add up to 7 chains at a time, which is pretty cool. And you could even do as little as 5, and it'll still fit very comfortably within the actual crimp itself. So I think that it sort of solves the issue of you don't have to just stop at the 3-strand crimp. You now have an option for including as many strands as you want to outside of just the 3. So have a couple of those out. And since we're talking about the metal findings in the stamp, you'll also need a clasp of some sort. So I'm using an S hook from my collection. I've also got a great toggle clasp that's available, and then a lobster claw if that's your preference. Some people for bracelets like to go the magnetic route, and that is perfectly great too. Just make sure that it's on the silver side if that's the color that you're using for the rest of your metals. And of course, I've got my jump rings as well for the S hook, so I've got those out to the side. Now, let's get started with the step outs. So first of all, we need to organize our rainbow, which I've already sort of accidentally done. If you are wondering what the colors of the rainbow are, which I did have to Google, sadly, because I wanted to get that correct spectrum and the gradient for all of the different colors. But isn't that just beautiful? Once you put it together and once you see all those different capture chains, it just is magically like it fits together. So we've organized our silver silk into the palette that we'll be working with. So I'm just going to set that off to the side. The next step is to work with our end cap or our crimp slide. So I'm going to grab one of the slide crimps and I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers. So there's a couple of things you can do here to make the sliding process quite easy for the capture chain. The first thing is I'm going to widen the little partition there within the crimp just a little bit. A millimeter or 2 makes such a huge difference for sliding the crimp sliding through the crimp with the capture chain. The other thing is I want to make sure that this flap is wide open. That way I can slide everything down pretty easily. So we've completed step 2. Now I'm going to set that down for a second and pick up the purple capture chain. So this is where you can take your fingernail and you can just simply pinch between the 2 beads of the ball chain, just like that. And you'll have basically a good setup for where to slide through this little slide crimp. So you can go through and pinch all of your capture chain just to kind of get it out of the way. I'm going to do it one at a time just to make it easier for me. But at this point, you can insert it into the slide crimp. It'll be a little tricky because the knits will want to get hooked onto the end of the seam within your slide crimp right there. Like it'll get hooked on that end there. But once you get past it, it's pretty smooth sailing. I did miss part of my wire there, so I'm going to just make sure that I get it all nice and tucked in before I end up sliding it all the way down. Okay, and I just like went ahead and slide that down all the way to the end of the crimp pretty easily. So I'm going to start to do this with the rest of my capture chains. So just pinch it and slide it down. Pinch it, slide it down. Nothing to it, and you'll see your rainbow instantly being built. Okay, pinch it, slide it down. Pinch and slide. Now you could see that I'm kind of pressing these together quite closely because I want to make sure that I can fit all of my chains in nice and smooth. The last one might be a little tricky because it is at the end. So what I'm going to do is actually use my chain nose pliers to pinch the slider crimp closed just a little bit. And then I should be able to fit in my last chain quite smoothly. At this point, I'm going to kind of hold it in place and use my chain nose pliers to fold that little flap down. And I can use my table surface to press it together. It's still a little bit open. I haven't quite sealed it all the way, but it gives you guys an indication of where to go. There we go. So now I have it all nice and secure with all of my colors there. Isn't that just beautiful? Oh my gosh. So at this point, this is where you want to make your final cut because you can measure and have an idea of where you want your bracelet to end. And for this one, because I've cut all of my strands at the 7-inch mark, I think I'm just going to eyeball it and use my wrist as part of the measuring here. And I think I'm going to cut it right about here. So what I would do is I would lay this down. I'd cut this first, and then I would lay it down flat on the table. And that way you have sort of a line marker for where to cut the rest of your chains. So let me just slide this down a little bit so you guys can see. And now I'll just kind of go through and cut them one at a time. You can even pick it up once you sort of marked where it needs to be cut. Okay, that looks good so far. We'll cut this one here. There. And finally, the last one here. Alrighty. So we will basically repeat the same steps as before. We're going to open up our end cap, or I keep calling it an end cap, it's a slide crimp. And we will simply slide our chains down through it. Now, the other thing to remember is what side your slide crimp is facing. So as you can see, I've got the logo side face up. And so whenever I slide my crimps down, or my capture chains through the crimp there, I want to make sure that my logo is face up. So at this point, I will grab that first chain, pinch it between the beads of the ball chain, and slide. Okay. Simply rinse and repeat at this point. Pinch and slide. Pinch and slide. Okay, pinch and slide. I mean, you're going to listen to me saying pinch and slide 14 times, so. But that's really the key to it. I mean, it's very straightforward. I love this technique. It's easy. The slide crimps don't have to stop at a bracelet. You can actually do this as a necklace format, and that would look really cool. Okay, before I get to the very end here, I'm just going to close this a little bit. And kind of prep it for getting that last chain in there. Okay. Again, I just use the table surface. Whoops, slipped out on me. And that should help kind of give you some leverage on closing it. I think I need to squeeze these down a bit more. There we go. It's all about just creating a little extra room for it. Hopefully that will have stayed. All right. So it looks like all of my chains are now secure very nicely. And now I can actually add in, so we completed this step already, step 6. The last step really is just to add on your clasp. So here's the thing with the slide crimps and with the jump rings. Depending on what jump ring you get, because they're going to be in different diameter and thicknesses and sizes and everything, the ones for SilverSilk are about 1 millimeter in thickness. And so what you might have to end up doing is opening up the little metal flap there, the loop, a little bit. So what I do is I just take my beading awl and I'll just sort of pass it through from the tip to widen that loop just a little bit. That way I can definitely have a pretty good size for passing my jump ring right through. And then I can slip on my clasp of choice. So I'll do the same thing with the other side. Okay, just open this up a little bit. Same thing with this side. Perfect. Hopefully that'll be big enough to slip my jump ring through. Awesome. All right, and that's it, folks. Like, can't get any easier with creating the rainbow bracelet. With the S hooks, you kind of have to open up the hook just a little bit, by the way, because they are brass core on the inside before all the plating. It's a very tough metal, and it's not going to be as bendy as something, say, pewter. So once it sort of holds its shape, it's not going to move in time, but it hooks on quite magically. And that's sort of the tutorial, you guys. Like, easy peasy. I love a good easy project, and who doesn't love a rainbow? I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and the content on the channel as well. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a big thumbs up over on YouTube. And also, please subscribe to the channel because those things are important. And if you know of anyone creative in your life that would enjoy these videos or SilverSilk, please do share that with them. And then lastly, you can find us in our Facebook community called the SilverSilk Silkies. And it's just a fabulous little community of creative individuals who enjoy using SilverSilk in their designs and enjoy sharing their work and inspiring others to create including myself. And I get wonderful ideas and inspiration from those of you that are using SilverSilk. So thank you so much for staying with the community and doing beautiful things. You can also find us over on Instagram. There you'll find a giant catalog of different projects and styles and designs using SilverSilk and the 7 different lines of chains that I carry. You can also do your shopping at silversilkonline.com. And until the next tutorial, I guess just keep it happy, keep it fun and creative, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.